ध्यायेत् शारचन्द्रसुन्दरमुखम् ताम्रारविन्देक्षम् भक्ताभीष्टवराभयभक्ता कौपीनमात्रोज्ज्वलम् स्वात्मानन्दरसानुभूतिविवशम् सर्वानवद्याङ्गकम् श्रीमन्तं श्रीरमणेश्वरं गुरुवरम् योगासनाध्यासितम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणेश्वरम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणेश्वरम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणेश्वरम् हृदयगुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहमभूति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसा चिन्वतामच्युताव पवनचरणोधा आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम्। Namo Ramana. We will commence today's evening Atma Vichara by listening to Bhagavan's Upadesha. As usual, we have been reading from this book, Self-Enquiry, 1900 to 1950. Ramana Answers. This is a compilation of all the questions put on Atma Vichara, self-enquiry to Bhagavan, and his answers to that. The compilation was done by our founder president, Sri Ramananjali. In the series of questions that we have been meditating upon by Bhagavan's grace, today we have reached the question where the devotee is asking, when we put the question, who am I, and asked to look at the source of the I, his question is where to look for that source. So I read the question, devotee, should I look for the source within the body? I repeat, should I look for the source within the body? Bhagavan, the ego arises within the body. Hence, in the first instance, you may look within the body for its source. When you reach the source, there will be no inside or outside, because the source or the self is all pervading. After realization, everything will be inside the self. I repeat Bhagavan's answer. The ego arises within the body. Hence, in the first instance, you may look within the body for its source. When you reach the source, there will be no inside or outside, because the source or the self is all pervading. After realization, everything will be inside the self. I was recently watching a video by Enquiry Jagadguru Sri Vidushekara Bharati ji. And he was trying to answer a similar question, how Advaita can be understood. He was trying to put it in a very simple terms. So he was saying that if one were to take a white paper and ask anybody to write a particular sentence or something, one would not put any question because the whole paper is clean and white, so one would simply start writing from the top if a dictation is given or something like that. On the contrary, if one folds the paper into two equal halves, and in one of the half, if one is asked to write a circle, and in the other half, if one is asked to put five circles, and if the same paper is then handed over to somebody to write, and moment the instruction is given, please write, let us say, please mark a dot, then the immediate question would be, should I mark the dot within the circle or outside of the circle? And he was continuing to explain very beautifully. Now, if one was exposed to the bigger circle, the half which has the bigger circle, then this question would come whether you put the dot within the circle or put it outside that circle. On the contrary, if I give the other half of the page, if we give them the other half of the page where there are 5 circles, then the question becomes even more complicated. On which of the circles I should put on, or whether should I put it outside of all the circles. And he was going on explaining how in the bigger circle, if one is asked to write a text with a particular letter size, and if say it's quite a big paragraph, one may be able to write all the text with that letter size in the bigger circle. But and if the same is asked to be written in one of the smaller circles with the same letter size, one would say that it is not possible at all because the size of the circle is small. So he was trying to explain how a boundary makes so much of difference to all of us. If a plain white paper, which is the self, where there is absolutely no boundary, anything can be drawn and there will be no questions to it, no doubts. Everything would be very clear. Any part of the paper is the same, clean and white. On the contrary, moment we draw a circle, then everything starts to become, questionable. And he was trying to explain that maybe we can consider the bigger circle as the Ishvara and the smaller circles as the Jiva. So what the bigger circle can contain cannot be contained, cannot be held by the smaller circles, even though the self is the same one supporting both the Ishvara and the Jiva. But the question here, when it comes to the devotee that is asked here, where should I look for the source? Bhagavan is saying, please do look for the source within the body, because the sense of individuality initially seems to be rising from that. So the who am I question expects us to really look for the self within, or the source of the I within. But as and when we reach the source, when the boundary disappears, which is when the source reveals itself, and then the boundary, even though the boundary seems to be there, once the source is found, there is no more reality given to this limited identity or this limited boundary, because we know that the boundary is not supporting everything. It is the clean white paper which is always supporting, which always stood as the support, which alone is on which these circles seem to appear, these limitations seems to appear. And with this also it becomes clear, as long as we hold on to the limitations in whatever form, whether believing I am this body or holding on to an idea or a concept, in whatever which way we hold on to any object, whether it is gross like the body or subtle like an idea or a concept or a thought, we should know that on the white paper we have drawn a circle. And by the virtue of this circle being present, there is going to be doubts invariably. So the idea here Bhagavan is saying is really question, is the circle, is this limitation, is the real I? Is it the real I? What happens to this limitation when we go to sleep? We don't seem to have any limitation that we felt so real and that we are so attached to in the waking state, and our sadhana also happens believing this limitation. I should get realized. Whereas when we go into the deep sleep, there is no I, no limitation, no sadhana. We realize the paper which alone is. And to realize that paper which alone is consciously is the need of the sadhana. And by consciously recognizing that paper, that self that we are, all the vasanas which put an imaginary boundary disappear because they don't have reality of its own. It is only by attending to these vasanas, by attending to these thoughts, they appear to be real and create the boundaries and make us believe that we need to do something, we need to attain something, we need to know something. And whereas the truth is that the self alone is, the paper alone is, and all the appearances are only transitory. If we erase them, what remains is only the paper. So, Bhagavan is asking here that when we reach the source, when we reach the self, there is no inside, no outside, because the source or the self is all pervading. It is the support. It alone is. After realization, everything will be inside the self. After realization, if there is going to be anything, any circle drawn, any explanation tried to make, everything would be again within that limit, it will be a sort of limitation. So the mauna, the real self is, abidance is real mauna, where one remains as the clean white paper. And Bhagavan makes this possible through the inquiry, who am I? Every time that once we try to hold on to the limitation by holding on to a thought or any which way, Bhagavan asks us to inquire, to whom is this? And when we inquire, then we come to know that it is for me. That means there is a limitation that I have held on to. And therefore, inquire, who am I? And with the question, who am I? We try and go to the source of the I. When we inquire where from this I rises within me, or what really were referred to as I, which was which alone is. And when we question that and go to the source, the grace of the Master takes us and makes us become one with the self. And by repeatedly diving into the self, all the vasanas which bring about this limitation, which draw the circle which really does not exist, start to diminish or start to vanish. And there will come a time, as Bhagavan says, that the mind will gain enough strength to remain at this source. So, the immense grace of Bhagavan, let us do Atma Vichara for the next 15 minutes. Revathi, could you please help me keep the time? Thank you.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as a self in all beings. By the abundant grace of that self, we are delving into our own true nature through self-enquiry. The need for delving into our own true nature arises because of our understanding that there is an incompleteness in our knowledge of ourselves. I say incompleteness because there cannot be total absence of knowledge of ourselves. We all believe that we do know ourselves. For instance, we can say that we are seated in the Satsangh. When each one of us thinks, I am seated, I am here in the Satsangh, I am seated in the Satsangh, what all do I know about myself in that instance? First of all, when I say I am seated in a particular place, then I have assumed or I believe I know that I am a body. A body. This is I. And what else do I know? I am seeing. I am seeing the screen of the computer or my phone in which this satsang is being relayed, or the laptop, whichever I am seeing. So my sight is functional, and what do I believe? That is me. I am seeing, and I am also listening to the words which are being spoken. So I am listening. So I am the body which is seated. I am the seer, the physical seer who is seeing something happening. I am the listener, and at that particular point of time, wherever we are, if there is some fragrance wafting, if there is some smell in the atmosphere, then we become aware of that. We may not be paying specific attention to it, but we will be aware of that sense of smell around us. Actually, we are constantly aware of the smells around us. This we realize only when our nose gets blocked, and at that moment when we are not able to smell, suddenly if the nose gets unblocked, then we realize, oh, how many fragrances, how many smells I am conscious of from moment to moment. So there is the sense of smell. And of course, if we are not eating at a particular time, then we do not have the sense of taste. But even if we don't, if we just pay a little attention to it, there is a taste, even of our own mouth, always available to us. And the touch is there because our hand is resting somewhere on the chair, on the ground, and the touch is there in the sense that we feel the cold or we feel the warmth around us. So we feel all these sensations, the 5 indriyas as they are called, the vigraha, the body, and the indriyas are experienced by us as I. And then there is the breath. Our breath, we are not paying attention to the breath. But if we feel that we pay attention to the breath, then do we feel that that is I? Surely we feel that is also I. And then what about the mind which says all this, which is telling all this to us, saying, I am this body which is seated here, I am the sight which is seeing, I am the hearing, I am the taste, I am the smell, I am the touch, I am the breath. There is a thinking process which we believe we are. Okay. So we believe that we are Vigraha. Bhagavan says in Upadesharam, Vigraha, Indriya, Prana, Dhi. So many things we are. But are we so many things? And we feel, yes, I am all this, and I know I am all this. I know I am this body. I know I am the capacity to see. I am the seer. I am the listener. I am. If somebody asks each one of us, oh, are you seeing? Yes, I am seeing. Yes, I am listening. I am doing this. So it does not feel as if some other entity is doing it. So I am so many entities at the same time. And what of these? When I say I am the body, then what happens? I become an object for myself. I, the body, I know I am the body. So I am the one who knows, and I am the known body as well. So there is one which is known, and in this body there is something which is unknown also. I know some things about the body. I don't know some things about the body. If you ask me whether all my internal organs are intact at this moment, I can only say it appears to be so because I am feeling healthy. But I cannot say for sure whether what is happening within this body is something right, wrong, what exactly is happening. I have no knowledge. So if you question me more deeply as to whether I really have knowledge of this body, I may say, well, there are many things I don't know. So I say, I know myself as the body, and I don't know myself as the body. I know myself as my sight, and I do not know myself as my sight because I know that there are so many things which I do not see. It is the same thing for all the experiences of the sense organs. Similarly, for the breath, if you ask me whether I know my breath, I know and yet I do not know. Yogis say that there are 5 pranas in this body. What to say? This, but I do not know. I might have read about them. I might have read about those 5 pranas. I may be able to list them, or I may not even be able to list the names. Prana, Gana, Apana, Samana, all these are there. But then I may be able to state what are the functions. But how aware am I? How aware is each one of us of all that which the breath is doing and pervading within the body? So there is some degree of knowledge of the breathing coming and going, and if there is some disturbance in breath, we are aware. If we are not able to breathe very normally, we are aware. We are very sharply aware of it. But beyond that, we are not aware of what the breath is doing. So there is a known I. If the breath is I, there is a known I, and there is an unknown I. There is an unknown element in that. And for thoughts, what can we say? Do we know the mind? Hardly. We are often taken by surprise by various aspects of the mind. We are surprised by the kind of thoughts which arise in our minds. We are surprised by our inability to do something about various thoughts that arise in our mind. So there is an area of knowledge and there is an area of non-knowing. So in every case, there is one entity or a person who can say, I know or I do not know. I know my body, I don't know my body. I know my sense organs, I don't know my sense organs. I know my breath, I don't know my breath. I know my mind, I don't know my mind. So this, when we keep on saying this, Bhagavan is asking us in his 40 verses in the Ulladu Narpadu, he asks us, are you one person or are you 2 people? Or are you actually multiple people? We seem to be multiple people. See, if we are the body and if we are the breath, if we are the indriyas and we are the breath, and if we are also the mind, and you see that's already 4 entities, and there is the non-knowing or tamas, that is 5 entities. Now, if are the body and the indriyas the same? Is the body and the breath the same? The body is not the same as the breath. The breath comes and goes. It comes into the body, it goes out of the body, it pervades the body. How can the breath and the body be the same thing? They are two separate entities. So if I have to be the body and if I have to be the breath, then I have to be two separate entities already, 1 plus 1. Then if I have to be the indriyas, is the seeing the same as the hearing, is the same as the smelling, is the same as the touching, is the same as, it's not. Seeing is different, listening is different. So I have 5 people there. And then if you come to the dhi, which is the mind, the variety of thoughts which arise, and every moment I become one of those thoughts, how many people am I? How many people are we? Is the self divided into this kind of multiple beings? Do we experience it as multiplicity? Do we believe it as multiplicity? Although we may not see the underlying unity, there is some intuitive awareness in each one of us which gives us a sense of continuity, which gives us a sense of completeness, which does not make us feel as if we are fragmented and divided and actually a conglomeration of multiple disparate elements. We don't feel like that, do we? We feel that there is a sense of I-ness in us which is not broken up like this, and which therefore Bhagavan says cannot even be 2 to begin with. It cannot even be 1 plus 1. Because if I say I am A plus B becomes a third entity. It becomes C. A plus B is neither A nor B. It is C. 2 plus 2 is not 2. 2 plus 3 is neither 2 nor 3. It is 5. So it's a different entity. And if I am that entity which has various components, the moment one part of that is removed for some reason, then I should become a different entity altogether. Because if 2 plus 3 is 5, if 2 is removed, then 3 will remain. I will become 3. If 3 is removed, then I will become 2. So I will never be a stable entity when I am a component of parts. That's why if I think that I am the mind, I can never be a stable entity because the thoughts will keep changing. Some thoughts will get added, some thoughts will get removed, some likes will come in, some dislikes will come in, and they will all keep changing. But we don't feel that we are changing from moment to moment. We say, my mind is changing a bit. I liked this yesterday, I don't like this today. But I don't feel that I, per se, have become a different being altogether. I feel that some things about me have changed, which are actually superficial. But we don't look at this. And so, this example which was taken up today from Vidushekara Bharati by Dilip for explanation, there is multiple entities. When we look upon ourselves as multiple entities, it was said that there is a lot of room for confusion. There is a lot of room for disturbance. There is room for fear. There is inside and outside and the other, and so much of chaos can come in. But how do we get back? That is what Bhagavan is pointing out to us. The enquiry is not just a description of our present condition of being fragmented. It is not only that which Bhagavan is stating in Upadesha Saram, saying Vigraha, Indriya, Prana, Dhi, Tamaha, Naham. They are not I. They are not I. Tat Jadam. They are all insentient. Why? Because they are known by me. The body is known to me. And the Indriyas, the senses are known to me. The breath is known to me. The thoughts are known to me. They are known by me and to me. So I, who is this I, is the path which Bhagavan is giving us to turn back. Because if I move away from the body, when I go to the senses, I have already moved away from the physical body. When I am caught up or completely engrossed in something which I am seeing, I will have no memory of the physical body, where I am sitting, everything can be lost. In fact, Bhagavan gives an example of how when one is one pointed, the entire physical experience can be lost. He talks of a queen who fell in love with another man, other than the king, and the king had both of them tortured. But the only thing is that he had them tortured together simultaneously, and they were looking into each other's eyes. And Bhagavan says in that story, looking into each other's eyes, they had no awareness of anything else, not even of being physically tortured. So that is the degree to which one experience of one indriya, just an indriya, they were looking into each other's eyes. So it could help them to transcend the entire domain of bodily experience. But it does not help one to transcend the prana. Again, if one holds on to the prana, one can forget about the body. When one forgets about the body, what will happen? When one forgets about the indriyas also, because one controls the prana, what will happen? That there will be no sense experiences. There will be no physical experience. So when there is no physical experience, when there is no sense experience, what will happen? There will be no movement of the mind also. So one would have conquered the physical, the body, and the indriyas. When one holds on to a single thought, ekachintana, what will happen? Then even the movement of the breath is forgotten. In fact, it will automatically subside. It will automatically subside. There is no need to hold the breath. When the dhyana becomes strong, what will happen is that everything will get subsumed into that and it will all subside. So one can cross over all this. One can cross over vigraha, indriya, prana by control over the dhi or the mind. But what about tamas? How to cross over tamas? This is where self-inquiry becomes very significant, because although self-inquiry is done with the help of the dhi, with the help of the mind, because it is questioning its own validity in self-inquiry by asking, who am I? It helps to transcend the tamas also. Because through tamas, when one gets into laya, if one completely controls the thoughts as well, one can get into laya, absolute mental stillness. So tamas would have got control over all the other four. But tamas also has to be crossed. And that happens through self-inquiry, because in self-inquiry, when one is asking oneself, who am I? One is ready to surrender that very entity, and then the grace takes over, and that alone can help us to cross over the tamas. Because there, it is not possible for us to do anything. Therefore, the question, Bhagavan says, who am I? And if we are getting to whence am I, the source, where from does the I within me arise, which also Bhagavan points out to us as a path, and he has given it to the Muni and in Upadeshasaram as well. He says, Manasam tu kim margane krite. Then, where from does the mind arise? He asks us to find out. Margane krite. Margane. Aham ayam kuto bhavati. Kuto bhavati. Where from does it arise? So this, he allows us This center, the heart center, Hridstale Manaham, within the apparent framework or boundaries within the circle as a path to begin with. For this, I often give the example of the earlier days, the transistor radio, which was available to us, and we would want to listen to a particular song. And when we would want to listen to a particular song, we would have to tune into that station, and that cursor would move, and then it would move a little. Then we will fine tune, and then we will listen to the song. We would get the right wavelength, and we could listen to the song. Now, where is the song? The song is not inside the transistor. The song is everywhere. It is in the air. That is why it can be received by the receiver in the transistor. However, although the song is everywhere, we cannot hear it unless we tune in to the particular wavelength. So Bhagavan says we can use that as a spot. Now, once we have tuned in the transistor to that particular wavelength, are we going to be seeing, going on looking at the cursor, whether it is sitting in that proper place? We are not going to be bothered about it because the song will start playing. And once the song starts playing clearly, we are going to forget even the transistor because the song alone is important for us. We wanted to hear the song. So once the song starts playing, then the place in this transistor is irrelevant. The transistor itself is irrelevant, and the song alone remains. This is how, when we actually connect to the source through the heart center, which has been given to us as an aid, once we connect to the source, that location disappears, or it will cease to be important. It will cease to be significant. It will disappear. Then Vishwanatha Swami used to often tell that the self is a circle with center everywhere and circumference nowhere. Center everywhere and circumference nowhere. So once one has got into the center becomes everywhere. The center is not here, or the here is everywhere, because here is always everywhere. So this is how Bhagavan takes us beyond our fragmented life, our divided existence, which is therefore full of desire and fear, into the harmony of the self. He not only points out that this division is not the truth, but he also gives us the simple because it is simple to understand. It is simple because it is simple to practice. However, it requires eagerness and intensity in the practice, as Bhagavan has said, Parival Ulam Uruha, with lot of love, with the heart melting with love. When we turn towards it, then the real eye of knowledge opens, says Bhagavan. Nijam Arivai Adu Veliyam. That is, the truth is revealed at that point of time. Such is the infinite grace of Bhagavan, which has come to us in his form, in his name, for us to connect to it, for us to meditate upon it, and through that support to overcome all the other fragmentations and to dive within through self-inquiry, which is he, and then to let go and allow him to take over as a self by that very infinite grace. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Dilip?
Yes, sir. Aparas Chit Sukhavadikashe Yasyormima Bhuvanam Samastam Guharitam Tam Ramanam Gabhiram Chintavihinam Hృది Chintayami Chintavihinam Hృది Chintayami